the consumer is going to suffer. And so you even have brands like Amazon, for example, that could see a fall from advertising. Google as well can be impacted by a fall from advertising. Meta.
I'm Hannah Kim at the Fox Local Live Desk. We are interrupting Live Now's coverage for now because we want to bring you an important press conference that just started as the NFL draft approaches. Of course, excitement is building for Seahawks fans, and we are just about to hear from GM John Schneider as well as head coach Mike Macdonald. Take a listen. They just sat down.
In the spring and the fall, and out here for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Sam Ramsden, David Strickland, all the docs, just everybody involved in the process. It's been a great process this year, and yeah, just really thankful and grateful to be getting ready for our 16th draft year. Fire away.
John, we asked you about this, before the at the combine, all throughout the process, but just having Mike and the coaching staff more involved than they were able to be last year. Now that you've been through all of this, just what was that like working with them?
It's been outstanding. Being able to having the majority of the offensive staff, our new staff haven't been through the process several times at different buildings and organizations has helped as well. But I think everybody just has a better feel for each other naturally. Your Mike and I are constantly evaluating the evaluators, right? So that's coaches, it's scouts, it's doctors, trainers, it's everybody, and yeah, it's just a much stronger comfort level.
Mike, for you, just same kind of thing. Just now that you've gotten all this experience doing this with John, what's it been like for you?
Yeah, I think you have a really strong feel for the cadence about what happens and when and what those conversations are like. But just like John said, I mean, it's year two. Understanding our process and how we do it, it really helps.
John, how do you avoid, with all the information you have available to you, overthinking as you get closer to the draft? And what are the points that change your opinion the most about a player in the process?
Did you see were you here yesterday? Did you see the draft board yesterday? Yeah. No, it's funny you say that. It's a great question. It's really just, we're just kind of wrapping up everybody's opinions, and, we'll get to a spot where, Mike and I just can walk through every scenario, and so we're not in a position to overthink things, especially once we get to the weekend. We want to be able to have it look like we want it to look, and our kind of guys, and just be able to maneuver and pick good players for this talented staff.
And at the league meetings, you had mentioned that the compensation for trading back in the back of the first round has kind of changed in recent years. Have you figured out why that is?
So yeah, I mean, there's tons of different. A lot of people used to use Jimmy Johnson's grading scale, right? The point system. Now that the advent of analytics, there's more and more, you have salary caps, you have salary cap numbers, you have a lot of people that just have different systems. So what we're doing over the next 2 days is really having our guys, make sure they're contacting the other teams, the teams that they're responsible for in terms of trades, and making sure that we're in the same vicinity, because everybody seems to be using different grading or trading scales, point systems, and so you want to be able to move in a very fast manner, and so we want to get all that kind of laid out ahead of time. You don't want to be in the moment and having to be negotiating a ton. There's a certain level of negotiation that goes on there, but you don't want it to be taking up more than the decision-making process, more time than the decision-making process.
Analytics traded, has analytics adjusted how your chart has maybe changed over the years?
Yeah. Yep. We've switched it a little bit. Yeah.
You never traded up in the first round, but you've traded up multiple times on day two. Is there a reason for that?
No. This hasn't happened. Yeah.
What do you make of the fact there haven't been any trades in the first round yet, among first-round picks?
Yeah, I was just talking to a gentleman this morning about that from another team. It sounded like last week people were going to be active, and then nothing's really happened. So we're just trying to stay in contact with everybody I don't know. It's hard to tell. I don't know if that's just because of what the top of the top of the first round looks like. I don't know.
Mike, there's all sorts of hybrid players, and there's some in this draft that play off-ball linebacker and also play edge. It seems like a potentially challenging combination in like third down and take a linebacker off or on. How do you kind of think about the new hybrid players?
Well, they're really exciting. I think, especially in this year, it's when you're evaluating these guys, you try to have a vision for what their role would be immediately, and then what it would grow to. But it felt really clear, from our coaches, from how I saw it, and there's several guys like you mentioned that are in the draft that would be really exciting.
John, you mentioned to us at the Combine that you made your biggest mistakes when you've pushed a guy up the board for need.
Mm-hmm.
When does need actually come into play? When does need affect? Is it later rounds? Is it when you actually form your draft board? When does need come in?
It ends up pretty much being all the way through. But really, your need ends up being part of our grading system too. It's part of, we're comparing prospects to our players. Not necessarily, it's just the way we do it, not necessarily the rest of the National Football League. What does our team look like? And so, what I was talking about at the Combine is, sometimes you think you're just, filling a hole, and you're jumping that player ahead of more talented players.
Back to the trade value thing again. Has there been much?
I'm not going to give you our trade value. Okay, I'm not going to text it to you.
Yeah. So is there a big discrepancy in how teams value future picks?
No, everybody's pretty much on the same page there. Yeah, you're looking one up every year. So that's kind of how everybody's viewed that. Now, some people try to put that into a point system, and we don't.
John, what do you think of where your roster is right now after the moves you've made this offseason, bringing Drew Lock back, just some of the recent little ads around the edges since the last time we talked to you, and where you guys are sitting here before the draft?
Yeah, we like it. We like where we're at.
Fired up.
Yeah, I think we can just go pick darn good football players. We're excited to have 4 of those quarterbacks. We have 3 quarterbacks that have thrown for over 3,000 yards in a season, and all of them can move. That's a pretty cool group. Getting Drew back here, and Drew's very well respected in the building, and so it's great. It's great to get him back here into the mix. He had other opportunities, and we just stayed in touch with his agent and wanted to be able to. We spent time with him in Florida, so Mike could get to know him a little bit when we were down there, and he's just a great person, great competitor added this building.
The roster where it is, like you said right now, how exciting is it to have the 5 picks in the first 92 to even add to that, whether it's positions of need or depth at spots?
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, we were in there yesterday afternoon staring at it for a while. It's fun. There's a lot of room for activity. It's a movie line. Yeah, it just provides us with more opportunities to either just stay and pick good players or maneuver around.
Mike, what did you learn about Drew when you got to spend some time with him?
Well, I think it's exactly what John said. It's just anytime you have an opportunity to spend time with the guys outside of like the football setting. It's a great opportunity to connect with them and just spend time with them. And just a great guy. You can tell he fits in great with the locker room and the leadership qualities he brings. And for him, it's probably not easy to be in those settings with a guy, with me having not met him, and just be able to move and shake and have a good time and talk about things outside of football. So it was a lot of fun. We stayed in contact too, and just a big fan of Drew.
Skill sets and traits and all that aside, where do you guys feel like your roster is at in terms of having like a locker room full of players with the right edge that you want, like the personality types?
I mean, this is an interesting timing for me and our, like, as a coach, because normally you're about a week or two into the process as the draft week comes up. So I'm excited to start our process as a team to see how everything's going to kind of come into focus over the next 8 to 10 weeks and into camp. But I'm really excited about our guys. I mean, it's just today, a lot of the guys are starting to trickle in. We start officially tomorrow, so seeing guys we haven't seen in a good bit, and just like their excitement for the off-season program, and Just feels like spirits are really high, enthusiasm's high, and we got a lot of work to do. But I feel like the guys, mental's in the right spot, and we got a great opportunity in front of us.
John, one area that keeps coming up in terms of need is offensive line. This team's been graded low by evaluators, analytics sites, and stuff in terms of that position group. Do you think there's validity to that? Is that an area? I know you're not going to tip your hand as to who you're going to pick, where you're going to go, but is there some validity to that?
I think it's an area of need. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been very well documented throughout the spring. But it's also a little bit of a lazy narrative because every team is looking for offensive linemen. We're trying to create guys every single year. We end up finding, it used to be when I started in the league with Ron Wolf, it was like a free agent had to have 3 redeeming qualities. Okay, well now, especially with offensive linemen, you have guys maybe in the 4th round that have 2 redeeming qualities. Tall and long, strong and quick, or whatever. I mean, it's just happened. It's not anything that anybody in football is happy about, to be honest with you. It's an area that hasn't been developed as well as the other side of the ball for one reason or another. And it's really, I think it just fundamentally comes down to if you're gonna be playing football at a young age, you wanna go sack a quarterback and do your sack dance, or do you want to go block for a running back or a quarterback? I mean, I think it comes down to that.
Talked about how that position, there's kind of a dearth of talent there, and you maybe have to adjust your draft board and push guys up farther than maybe their grade would justify. So are there other positions you've seen like that happen to? Quarterback seems like maybe one. Is this a unique situation, or are there other times you've seen this happen?
No, it's just quarterback and offensive lineman. And that's just the position too. They don't Mike's been there, but they don't get to spend much time with these guys in college anymore. We used to be able to go to a practice and spend the first 25 minutes watching an individual period, and now it's like you go there and it feels like they're just guys that are out there just running plays. So things were much better when we had NFL Europe. We were able to put guys in there and have coaches, experienced coaches, training these guys away from the building and getting those extremely important reps. And again, same thing with the quarterback position.
Mike, I know your ability to talk to guys is a little bit limited right now this time of year and everything, but pretty big changeover on the roster with Gino and DK Tyler all moving on different places and such. What's been the feedback you guys have got about just where you guys are heading directionally, the shift, and having so many guys that have been a big part of this team not be here, and the shift that's made for you guys so far?
Well, I think I kind of answered that the last time. It's just there's a lot of enthusiasm. Our guys are really excited. I'm going off of the conversations I've had with the guys on our roster, and it's not to make a comment about the guys that weren't here and the guys that are here. It's just there's a lot of respect for the guys that are on our football team, and a lot of prior relationships too that have kind of come back into the mold, and so guys are excited about kind of renewing that relationships that they've had with those guys and being in this setting here, at the VMAC every day. So I'm really encouraged. I'm really excited, and this time tomorrow we'll be finishing up our first day, and then we'll go do it day 2 and do that for the next 10 weeks. It'll be a lot of fun.
Mike, what does the acquiring Drew mean for Sam Howell?
Well, it means that those guys are going to be competing. So both guys know that, and Jaren's part of the mix too. He's going to be competing with those guys. But anytime you're adding competition to a room and a side of the ball and a football team, it's good for us, especially when they're great players and great guys. And it's going to be fun to see how it shakes out.
Mike, when you're spending time with a draft prospect, whether it's like a 30 visit or combine or whatever, what stands out to you as like, this is my kind of player? Is it like a football knowledge thing? Is it an attitude? Like what gets your attention?
I think from my perspective, I think it's kind of irresponsible to say like I can get this guy figured out in 20 minutes or an hour or a day. It's just you got to go with this perspective of there's not like one singular thing. Oh, that was a red flag. Like can't touch this guy. It's just I don't know. I just feel like that's a little overconfident in the process. So where my role is, in my opinion, is it's another data point to augment like what all the scouts have done, what the rest of the work that our coach has been doing with all their interviews, And I want to just have an opportunity to connect with that person for that, time that they were at that opportunity. And really excited about the guys that I've met and been able to connect with over this process. There's a lot of great human beings in this draft that have awesome stories, and it gets you excited about the opportunity to coach some of these guys. So when they're in the building, you get a better feel for who they are and kind of what has got them to this point.
What did you learn leading the off-season program last year, the first time you can kind of take into this year?
I think we have a very clear vision about what we're trying to create and what it takes to get to that point. And it's not just me, sitting there saying this is, it's everybody. I think all the coaches, we have a great alignment in how we want to go about our business. And again, we've done it before, together, and we've gone through that feedback loop already. And just talking to one of our players about an hour ago, and he knows who we're talking about. But like they know there's a reason behind what we're doing and why and what we're trying to chase, and it's not that some big secret on what day in day out looks like, and we can get that message spread across to the guys so we can hit the ground running.
You guys both talked about adding the right guys into the room, not just the right guys on the field. Camp Chancellor talked about needing to get to a dark place to play the way he played on the field. How do you guys balance like good humans and also finding guys that are going to be dogs on the field?
Yeah, I'll take that one. You'll rattle off the guys on our roster that are, Leonard Williams, Jaron Reed, Ken Walker. I can rattle off a ton of guys on our football team that are great human beings here in the community with their families, guys that, you want to emulate and are leaders for us, but on the field are not to be messed with. And those are the types of guys we're looking for.
Back to quarterbacks, are you guys cool with having 3 on the roster because of the experience you have right there?
Yeah.
To approach a quarterback?
No, I was talking about the other day. It's just it's hard, excuse me, to maneuver around with quarterbacks to get it to call it like a safe place, where you feel like you're in an ideal world of acquiring quarterbacks. It's just, I've talked about it before. We've only drafted 2, and it's just, to Brian's point, you got to be careful, like how far you push those guys. So, but no, it does not.
The report that you guys have received inquiries about Sam Howell, potential trade, is that accurate?
Yeah, it's accurate, and we have a great relationship with Bruce, his agent, and Bruce is very well known and respected throughout the National Football League, so he has a ton of contacts as well. So it's a very open dialogue.
Would that be something you'd be open to, moving Howell?
I don't know. We're not there yet.
You mentioned quarterbacks in the draft and danger of moving them up. Is that a position, there's kind of a perception they sometimes maybe get overdrafted or whatever compared to other positions just because of the value of quarterbacks. Have you found that, or has that increased at all through the years? Or has it become more commonplace through the years, maybe where a guy that people thought was going to go in the 3rd round suddenly goes in the 1st kind of thing?
You're just talking historically? Yeah.
Well,
has it increased over the years? Yeah, I've seen it. I was talking to Jake Locker about this and Brady Quinn. It's not their fault. That they're, these guys are supposed to be the first pick in the draft, or you know what I mean. It's just the way, the way that this world is right now. These guys, they're talked about forever. We were just talking to our 30 visit guys the other day. This is a process you're going through. How you're acquired in the draft. Enjoy it with your family, but get ready to work because the guys are coming in next week. The team's coming in, getting ready to work, and guess what? On Monday, everybody's gonna be talking about next year's class, and we'll be talking about it all year. And I get it. It's fun. It's great entertainment, but it is that. It's entertainment. But what's happened, especially at that position, is that it's such. It's most important. Most important position on the team, and so yeah, over the years, there's been a lot of people that have been, I don't want to say overdrafted, but just based on the class, they just be pushed up.
John, obviously people try to be secretive about their draft perspectives and their draft board. Is there effort put in to throw people off the trail, misinformation? Do you find other teams actively putting out misinformation?
Yeah, I don't know if it's misinformation. We were just talking on the way down. I had a call with the team and was, asking if we were going to move down or move up or whatever. I don't know what the conversation was really. It was like, I don't know, like we want to move up. Okay, well, yeah, okay, well, we'd be open to discussing something like that. And then it was like, well, I think we're actually going to trade back. I'm like, what did we just talk about? I don't understand. I want that 5 minutes back. We don't do a lot of it. We did a long time ago when I was with the Packers, just joking with guys. Like, I think I've told you guys about Kajana Carter, like he was going to be the first or second pick in the draft, and we were picking like 24, 25 or something like that. And, he was kind of complaining about, being in our room filling out the interview sheet. And one of our guys was telling me, we were going to spread some rumors about him, and, he was going to fall. And he didn't like that very much, but, yeah, some teams do it, some teams don't. I mean, there's I think once you get down to it, like these conversations right now are very, very periphery. Last year, I remember it wasn't until the day of, like Thursday, where it was like, all right, well, man, I think there are going to be 6 quarterbacks taken, and that wasn't as much of a smokescreen as we thought it was going to be.
Mike, your year at Michigan, does that help at all in this whole thing, or has it been too many years now?
Oh no, that definitely helps. And we had Jay Harbaugh, Chris Partridge. Those guys have great feel for those guys too. They were there more recently than I was. So anybody that has prior relationships or exposures to recruiting is always really helpful.
And how does your understanding of the college game help in this whole thing? Because the college game wasn't even the same 5 years ago.
I don't know. I don't think it affects it that much, honestly. It's the same tape we've been watching for years. How we built our defense at Michigan, probably 2 parallel lanes there that don't convert.
I can ask a non-football one. You guys had your primetime event for Ben's Fund last week. You raised over $5 million over the years doing that. What is the community support for that and that event come to mean to you?
Yeah, Tracy and I are very grateful to the Seahawks and everybody that, gives to this cause. It's obviously near and dear to our heart with Ben's situation, but this community is. Brad Brotherton did an event right when I got here, and I attended it and for cancer research, and I told Tracy, I was telling Tracy, what. As soon as we get an opportunity, we get settled, we got to do this because this community is amazing. People are extremely giving, and it's I think it's like $70,000 to $80,000 a year now for treatments, and it's hard for a lot of families. So it's been overwhelming, and it's just a really awesome reflection on the community here in Seattle, state of Washington.
John, I think you said on the radio that you were kind of cautioning against calling the quarterback class weak or not very good. In general, position aside, when someone says asks you if the class is good, what do you hear when you say that? What do you have to say to say yes?
You don't really know for 2-3 years, really. I mean, what we tend to do is kind of beat it up, really. I mean, throughout the process, but then while you're getting to know the people and the competitors, and you kind of it's wow, all throughout the draft you can see the strengths and what we think would be amazing for the coaches to bite into and get excited about, and what would make a great Seahawk. So when again getting back to the entertainment portion, it's I understand why people are they're on TV talking about this or that, and this this draft looks like this. It's just it's entertainment.
Hey John, going back to a process question, I've heard you mention the openness of challenge. Can you just talk about how that permeates in your the openness of challenge, how you're listening to everybody in your team in terms of having that comfortable discussion where they can bring in something that you might not have known.
Oh yeah. It just we have a very open process. We listen to everybody. Whatever information we can get, the more the better. And it's about getting through the information and making sense of it and coming to a conclusion. Am I saying that the right way? Is that what you're asking about, the draft process?
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah.
It's something you said
Okay.
with Dave and Bob.
Yeah, no, it's very much, it's listening to, all the coaches, the scouts, Roy, Soup Campbell, anybody that's like David Strickland, our Dr. Ed, like anybody that's able to spend time with the players, and these are all contact points and points of information for us to take in. So we'd be silly not to, listen to everybody and get as much information as we possibly can to make the right decisions.
Maybe a little deeper on that. How have you changed in terms of being open through all these years now, getting consensus? How have you changed in all these years you've done this?
Yeah, I think that it's a self-scout, like every year, like how are we, I'm constantly looking at what we can do to, how do I improve? How do we improve the team? How do we improve our process? So we're constantly looking at that and trying to evolve and not say that, like I don't think we ever say like this is, set in stone. Like it's either, one way or the other. I think we're very pliable, and I think when you dig yourself, like you put your head in the sand and dig in, then that's not a remedy for success.
There's obviously different parts of the football calendar. There's free agency, there's draft, there's OTAs, all that stuff. Where does this rank for you as your favorite part of the year? Like where's it rank compared to other parts of the year? Get ready for the draft.
I mean, this is the most fun, I think. Getting ready for a draft. I mean, I dreamt about this as a kid. I mean, like Paul Zimmerman, like getting the Sports Illustrated, Dave, right? And you get the Sports Illustrated 1 week before the draft, and it was like there was one mock draft in there. God rest his soul, he's passed away now, so I don't know how many mock draft 4.0s or 7.5s he had. He only had his one. He only had his one. So yeah, no, this is the most exciting time because it's like this influx of like new talent that's coming in, respecting the past, respecting who's here, and then bringing in these really this new group of guys that everybody's done an amazing job of spending time with and identifying.
Both the emphasis on the quality of the player, the prospect, what makes him tick. Has the NIL era made that even more clearly defined, that you can tell more about a player coming out of college and the money he made and makes?
You want to grab that?
Yeah, I think it's too early to tell. Yeah, I think you were really getting gassed up in that process. When we were at Michigan, it just started. That was 21, so yeah, I guess we're 4 years in now, so probably more returns on that over the next couple of years. I think if you put more eggs in one basket, one way or the other, I think it might be a little dangerous. You start like attributing it to certain things. You may or may not be correct, and that might not be the right way to go.
You found that the sort of middle, later parts of the draft aren't as maybe strong in the NIL era because some guys who, like, they could get more money going back to school than they would being a 5th or 6th round pick.
Yeah, that's happened. For some reason, this year's group looks right now it feels. I don't know if it's because we spent so much time now with these guys, but it seems like it's pretty strong throughout. But yeah, that's legit. A lot of guys staying, like 5th round, 6th, 5th on down probably.
Does that make smaller school guys, or even you've had 2 Division IIs in the last 3 years? Does that make them even more worth scrutinizing because maybe their road hasn't been as easy and they're not getting paid?
No, I wouldn't. No, because it's all part of the same group. They're all part of I guess one big class.
Charles is optional. The deadline's in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll answer that at a later date.
There's still music, but how do Clint Kubiak and John Benton affect the way you guys might be evaluating offensive linemen in this draft?
Well, I think the system has been defined and they've been running it for quite a long time. I think what's cool about what these guys, you could make the mistake of saying, "Hey, we're going to be really myopic and this is what we need, and we're not budging. They're not like that. You know, they're kind of seeing the whole player and then having a vision for how they would fit with us. But definitely understand like what we're going to be asking of them to do is really clear.
John, is there still music in the draft room? And it's been a while since I asked this, so what's on the playlist? Who's in charge of the playlist in the draft room now? Is it still Bob Marley like it was 15 years ago?
Yeah, it was, but people are getting tired of me playing that, so they want other stuff. So, yeah, my son, I think, Jack's coming back, so that'll probably be his job, if I can get him to turn it down, at the appropriate times. He's way more hip than I am, so, yeah. It changes throughout the weekend, but, yeah.
John, WIA sanctioned girls flag football today as a WIA sport. This has been an organization that cares about pushing flag football forward, so just your reaction to that news.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I think that's pretty cool. State of Washington and, the Seahawks, the people upstairs do a great job getting out in the community and impacting women's flag, all flag football, women's flag football. We had a camp here this weekend with a bunch of people here, spending time with young people, future prospects. So, no, it's pretty exciting.
Do you have any more update on how Chen is doing or whether he'd be ready for camp?
I don't.
I don't think it's changed since we last talked, but excited. He's in a good spot.
John, you've done it countless times now, but I'm sure. Yeah, it's the same kind of emotion. Anytime you're calling a guy that you're about to pick him, knowing that's like a life-changing phone call, that person, what is that like for you?
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, we're going to get. It's much more fun than negotiating a contract. I'll say that. Yeah, we're going to get the area guys doing it more as well because these guys spend so much time with the individuals now. It's pretty awesome. I was saying to Aaron Heinlein today, I was like, hey, would you mind calling such and such's agent to see if we can get him hooked up with some coaches? And he's like, well, why don't I just call him myself? I was like, even better. These guys do a great job of everybody, just creating relationships with these guys. So it's pretty cool to have free agents in here later on, 3, 4, 5 years later, giving us crud for not taking them because they really wanted to come here and stuff like that. So, and the relationships that they've developed with the area scouts over the years.
You did more of that last year with the area guys calling. What kind of caused you to say, hey, I'm going to do that this year?
Just the experience that Mike and I have, Coach Carroll for years, being able to make that, have that call to the person's, I mean, it's a fun, it's exciting deal to hear the enthusiasm in their voice. Some guys are screaming, some guys are crying, some guys don't pick up their phones.
That's the one I was thinking of.
So.
Anything else? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gil.
All right, you heard GM John Schneider, head coach Mike Macdonald ahead of the NFL draft this week. A couple of things that they were talking about in this press conference. They're looking for their kind of guys. Pretty interesting. They also talked about need versus best available and when need would outweigh best available, specifically talking in the quarterback and offensive line room. Now, they are happy with their quarterback room. They did mention that Sam Howell is on the trade block, but they're excited with their 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. Another thing of note, a couple players that they were trying to emulate as far as leaders in the locker room this year. The coach mentioned Jaron Reed, Leonard Williams, and Kenneth Walker as some leaders in the locker room. So there it is, head coach GM John Schneider, Mike Macdonald ahead of the NFL draft. And of course, our draft coverage starts on Thursday at 1 o'clock with the Ian Furness Show, followed by live draft coverage from 4 to 7 during our newscasts. And we'll recap all the day's news on our Washington Sports Wrap starting at 7:30. This is on Thursday and Friday this week. For now, I'm going to send it back to Live Now from Fox, and I'll be here the next time news breaks.
Bishop, are you intending to go to Rome?
No, not at this point. We're going to have we have a series of masses here at the cathedral and also a special funeral mass for him. So I'm planning to stay.
Thank you, Archbishop. Actually, on that.
Igual funciona acá en la representación de los escalas, because he's already in Europe.